Welcome back to the beginning of this episode.
28. War of Gods. Now, would you believe the war for God started with peace? To find the answers, I first wished I could find the evidence of peace in the Catholic Church. At first, you only see the sinful acts of man. But studying the Crusades, where it's even worse for sinful acts, I see hope. Everywhere they go, the clarity of the records are like night and day. We know the time, the people, what time they wake up, what time they go to bed. Education, travel, and religion skyrocket. So in order to find out what happened in the Crusades, I went to the Spanish Inquisition to see if I could find any similarities, right? Skip past this and let's go to another war that's similar. Now, I couldn't find anything about the stories, the culture, the time that led me to believe that either were any good at all. They were similar in the fact that they looked like wars that enslaved people. See, it took me weeks until I stumbled across a video on YouTube, which led me to my next tool: nighttime satellite imagery. Viewing countries at night will let you see a light grid. See, built in the late 1800s. See, before then we didn't have the power of light. The light grid was relatively a new addition to places that are thousands of years old. Time-lapse mapping will allow you to see the borders in areas where people claim as their land. However, these light grid images will allow you to see every city, every street, and every house. You see, the grids and lights don't stop at borders. They show places where the people actually dwell. See, when you see these light configurations, you can see that the way we live heavily depends on topography. Now, then, I went back to the Middle East and looked over the grid, and the dawn came. Now, as you can see in this image, these lights in cities follow the road. And it's hard to find a city that's not directly on a road. This is why. If you go back into the daytime and look at this satellite, you'll see that it is because the terrain is so diverse. It's all desert. See? But there are many mountains. Look at this rain. Too much sand and too little and too many cliffs. In fact, the only areas that are habitable are the areas where people travel along this road. And then it's not the land that's bringing you riches. It's the travelers. The only real way to live in these areas is to have a steady stream of travelers that comes by and brings goods. And they need help to cross the desert. See, now I'm beginning to see a picture form. With Alexander the Great, Jesus, now Muhammad, I can see that this is the time that great men go from conquering to creating to upholding cities. See, this is amazing. This is wonderful. This is an act of God. Like, who could not appreciate this or give thanks for this? This image may be realized with the only cities that grow are connected to the road, and symbolized that this is a tourist country where the only money that can be made is from the rich and diverse travelers that come by from season to season. Now, who can be... Now, you can... Now, there are cities and towns that grow from an immense mix of cultures. Now, who could be mad at that? Except those that already run a city and your city is failing. And now, because some new young hotshot thinks he's a game changer and his game is better, right? And I couldn't believe it myself. Right here, I found a reason, not that Jesus existed, but a reason to stop Jesus. And all the history and all the time people want proof that he's here, and what I found is proof that we shouldn't be here. We should have stopped him a long time ago. You see, I never could understand why you would want to kill someone that helped so many. Then I realized, you see, he's helping too many. People were escaping debt from their old city, leaving the prison systems, going straight into the new crowd that Jesus just created. You see, now I can see if you grow too fast, you'll be going out of control. See, these are very powerful men with a lot of people around them. Now I can see heads of state, all right, policemen, firemen, getting very nervous as he's on the rise on the way. And I can understand city councils coming together and trying to take action to realize, hey man, we have a large mass of people headed this way. What are we going to do? See, now states are becoming cold and paper driven, seeing how armies are victory driven, seeing how generals are war driven, and men will do anything to protect their families. I can't see this going any other way. With the way things are, and with the way things are, where the bigger force takes over the smaller one, there will be absolutely no difference from nature and man. It's because these losses, these failures that man's stumbling his way to glory instead of running into glory. See, the way society tramples over one to favor the many, like the majority rules, and you're a weirdo if you're out of style, you know? You know the way people think. See, when Jesus was hung on a cross, it was common. What was uncommon is that he was innocent, right? But for what they convicted him for was a common punishment. Most people think that he was the only man to ever be hung on a cross like that. When actually, in fact, he was hung between two others. So close that they could speak to one another. He's speaking to the man on his left and his right. Jesus himself wasn't sacrificed. And his death... Jesus himself was sacrificed. And at his death, at that moment, it didn't really save anyone, right? But rather, those that knew him, those that loved him the most, those that followed him, understood why he was tormented. So they spread his message with a fire and a fervor that is still boiling in the hearts that all that do here today. All that spoke his message in that day died for it. A most gruesome and agonizing fate for all of those that spread his word, so that you and I can hear it today the way he intended you to hear it. That's the end of this episode. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you on the next episode. Boom! We just right after this.